All right, so this isn't in your note booklet, but this is just a little background of setting up a proportion, doing some unit conversions. How many centimeters are in 3 meters? Now, some of you might be able to do this directly because you've had lots of practice. How many people know the answer right away? Okay. If you don't, you can set up a proportion. Remember, our proportion is, say, we want to find out something. What are we trying to find here? We're trying to find out how many centimeters, and we want to convert to 3 meters. I'm recording. Yeah. So the x on the top is what we want to find, and on the bottom is what we're trying to convert. In order to set up our proportion as something that we can solve, we have to know a relationship between centimeters and meters. Does anybody know how many centimeters are in a meter?
Isn't it like 100?
100. Good. So when you set up the other side of your proportion, you put something that you know. You know that there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. Again, since you put centimeters on the top of one side of the proportion, you put centimeters on top of the other side of the proportion. Then if you want to find out what x is, right now we're dividing by 3, the opposite of dividing by 3. Multiply both sides by 3. And you'll get x equals 100 divided by 1 times 3. And we wanted to find out how many centimeters. So we get 300 centimeters. Okay. Some of these eventually, since you know there's 100 centimeters in 1 meter, 200 centimeters, you might be able to do it in your head really quick. That's great. We're going to set up a proportion again. Okay. What do we want to find? We want to find out how many meters, even though this is probably one you would do in your head and say the answer right away. We want to change, though, 200 centimeters. What do we know? We know the relationship. How many centimeters in a meter? There's 100. But now centimeters goes on the bottom and meters goes on the top. When you multiply both sides by 200, because the opposite of dividing is multiplying, these would cancel out, and you would get x equals 1 divided by 100 times 200 is, 2 meters. Now, this is one, if you knew 100 centimeters was 1 meter, can you see that this was easy to figure out that 200 centimeters is 2 meters? So you probably wouldn't need a proportion. However, some of our conversions that we're going to end up doing are hard. Okay? For example, does someone know how tall they are in feet and inches?
Inches?
5 feet, 4 inches. How many inches
Are in a foot. 100.
So we're going to start with this. How many inches is 5 feet? So what do we want to find? We want to find how many inches is 5 feet. What do we know? Do you know how many inches? Do you know how many inches are in a foot? 12. So what we would do for setting up our proportion, we have inches on the top, so 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. What would we have to do here to get x by itself? Multiply both sides by 5. And 12 times 5 is 60 inches. So how many inches tall is Abe if he's 5 feet 4 inches?
64 inches.
64 inches tall. Now, when Abe gets his license plate, it's not going to say 64 inches on there. It's not going to say 5'4". It's going to have his height in centimeters. So we're going to need to find out how many centimeters is 64 inches. Okay?
Centimeters, 106,
Look at your ruler.
169.
I'm looking.
How many centimeters are there in 1 inch?
3.5. 2.5.
Yeah, 2.5.
About 2.5, right? Look at your ruler. In actuality,
2.6.
it's 2.54. 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. So looking at our ruler, we find out how much 1 inch is. So now how are you going to figure out how much 64 inches is? Well, we want to find out, we could set up our proportion. We want to find out how many centimeters is 64 inches. We know that there are 2.54 centimeters in 1 inch. So we have to multiply both sides by 64. And 2.54 times 64, 162.56. So on your license, it'll say 163 centimeters.
Where, like, where, on your license?
On your driver's license, not on your license plate. They don't tell you how tall a person is on your license plate.
Go like